Hi students! Here it is, Miss Duec, reporting for day 1 of distance learning. I hope that everybody's keeping themselves healthy and safe, yes, both emotionally and physically. I know this is a super weird situation. I never thought that I would be a distance learning teacher, and I'm sure that most of you didn't think that you'd be distance learning students, but here we are. In this video, I'm going to be reading aloud book 10 from lines 386, where we stopped, till the very end. So as I'm reading, I suggest that you take out your copy of the text and annotate it as we go. And this is really for 2 reasons. One is that it will definitely help build your reading comprehension to read along with me as I'm reading it. And 2 is you still gotta annotate. So you're looking for moments where we can characterize Odysseus, we can ask questions about him, we can make connections to other parts of the Odyssey, we can find patterns and motifs. With that, I'll start reading. You can feel free to pause the video at any time. Wait, how cool is it that you can pause me? How many times have you been sitting in class being like, man, I wish I could just pause Miss Duec? Well, you can. Woo-hoo. Okay, so you can feel free to pause the video at any time to leave your annotations. Last we left Odysseus, he had gotten some advice from a godly figure and was given a plan to help sort of get his men back from Circe. And then it got a little sexy, right? We got that ... as he mounted Circe's gorgeous bed. And now we're going to see what happens next. So I am reading from my copy of the Odyssey, and I am on line 384. It starts with "at the same time." You there? Great. At the same time, her handmaids bustled through the halls, 4 in all who performed the goddess's household tasks. Nymphs, daughters born of the spring and groves, and the sacred rivers running down to the open sea. One draped the chairs with fine crimson covers. Over the seats she'd spread with linen cloths below. A second drew up silver tables before the chairs and laid out golden trays to hold the bread. A third mulled heady, heartwarming wine, always with the wine, Odysseus, in a silver bowl and set out golden cups. A fourth brought water and lit a blazing fire beneath a massive cauldron. The water heated soon, and once it reached the boil in the glowing bronze, she eased me into a tub and bathed me from the cauldron, mixing the hot and cold to suit my taste, showering my head and shoulders down until she'd washed away the spirit-numbing exhaustion from my body. The bathing finished, rubbing me sleek with oil, throwing a warm fleece and a shirt around my shoulders, she led me in to sit on a silver-studded chair, ornately carved with a stool to rest my feet. A maid brought water soon in a graceful golden pitcher, and over a silver basin tipped it out so I might rinse my hands, and pulled a gleaming table to my side. A staid housekeeper brought on bread to serve me, appetizers aplenty too. Lavish with her bounty, she pressed me to eat. I had no taste for food. I just sat there, mind wandering, far away, lost in grim forebodings. Soon as Circe saw me huddled, not touching my food, immersed in sorrow, she sidled near with a coaxing winged word. "Odysseus, why just sit there struck dumb, eating your heart out, not touching food or drink? Suspect me still of more treachery? Nothing to fear. Haven't I just sworn my solemn, binding oath?" Pause here. Remember, Circe swore an oath to Odysseus, not to his men. Continuing. So she asked, but I protested. "Circe, how could any man in his right mind endure the taste of food and drink before he freed his comrades in arms and looked them in the eyes? If you really want me to eat and drink, set them free. All my beloved comrades, let me feast my eyes." So I demanded. Circe strode on through the halls and out, her wand held high, and flinging open the pens, drove forth my men who looked like full-grown swine. Swine is pigs. Facing her, there they stood as she went along the ranks, anointing them one by one with some new magic oil. And look, the bristles grown by the first wicked drug that Circe gave them slipped away from their limbs, and they turned men again, younger than ever, taller by far, more handsome to the eye, and yes, they knew me at once, and each man grasped my hands, and a painful longing for tears overcame us all. A terrible sobbing echoed through the house. The goddess herself was moved, and standing by me, warmly urged me on. Illustrious goddess now. Royal son of Laertes, Odysseus tired and true, go at once to your ship at the water's edge, haul her straight up onto the shore first, and stow your cargo and running gear in caves, then back you come and bring your trusty crew. I would pause the video and annotate, what did Circe just tell Odysseus to do? Her urging won my stubborn spirit over. Down I went to the swift ship at the water's edge, and there on the docks I found my loyal crew, consumed with grief and weeping live warm tears. But now, as calves in stalls when cows come home, droves of them herded back from field to farmyard, once they've grazed their fill. And as all their young calves came frisking out to meet them, bucking out of their pens, lowing or mooing, non-stop, jostling, rushing round their mothers, so my shipmates there at the sight of my return came pressing round me now, streaming tears, so deeply moved in their hearts they felt as if they'd made it back to their own land, their city, Ithaca's rocky soil where they were bred and reared. And through the tears their words went winging home. You're back again, my king! How thrilled we are, as if we'd reached our own country, Ithaca, at last. But come, tell us about the fate our comrades met. Still, I replied with a timely word of comfort. Let's haul our ship straight up onto the shore first, and stow our cargo and running gear in caves. Then, hurry, all of you. Come along with me to see our friends in the magic halls of Circe, eating and drinking. The feast flows on forever. Pause. What is Odysseus urging his men to do now? Keep in mind, these are the men that were waiting back at the ship. So these are the men that he left. So remember, we split the groups into two. So we have half of the men at Circe's. They've just returned back into men, and then we have half of the men here on the beach. So what is Odysseus urging the second group of men to do? Would be a good annotation. I'll keep going. So I said, and they jumped to do my bidding. Once Eurylochus tried to hold my shipmates back, his mutinous outburst aimed at one and all. Poor fools! Where are we running now? Why are we tempting fate? Why stumble blindly down to Circe's halls? She'll turn us all into pigs or wolves or lions made to guard that palace of hers by force, I tell you, just as the Cyclops trapped our comrades in his lair with hot-headed Odysseus right beside them all. Thanks to the man's rashness, they died too. So he declared, and I had half a mind to draw the sharp sword from beside my hip and slice his head off, tumbling down into the dust, close kin that he was. But comrades checked me, each man trying to calm me left and right. Captain, we'll leave him here if you command. Just tell us where he is to sit and guard the ship. Lead us on to the magic halls of Circe. With that, up from the ship and shore, they headed inland. Nor did Eurylochus malinger by the hull. Malinger is a great word. It means to just sort of slowly linger somewhere. He straggled behind the rest, dreaded the sharp blast of my rebuke. So that is reading until line 494. Please pause the video and make some annotations. Challenge yourself to make annotations you don't normally make. Maybe you're connecting. There's a lot of connections here. Maybe you're characterizing. Maybe you're predicting what's going to happen next. We have a lot of options. When you're done annotating, keep the video going, and I am going to be reading till the end. All the while, Circe had bathed my other comrades in her palace, caring and kindly, rubbed them sleek with oil, and decked them out in fancy cloaks and shirts. We found them all together, feasting in her halls. Once we had recognized each other, gazing face to face, we all broke down and wept. And the house resounded now, and Circe the lustrous one came toward me, pleading, "Royal son of Laertes, Odysseus, man of action, no more tears now, calm these tides of sorrow. Well, I know what pains you bore on the swarming sea, what punishment you endured from hostile men on land. But come now, eat your food and drink your wine, till the same courage fills your chests, now as then, when you first set sail from native land, from rocky Ithaca. Now you are burnt out husks, your spirits haggard, Sere, always brooding over your wanderings long and hard, your spirits never lifting with any joy. You've suffered far too much." So she enticed, and won our battle-hardened spirits over. And there we sat at ease, day in, day out, till a year had run its course, feasting on sides of meat and draughts of heady wine. But then, when the year was gone, and the seasons wheeled by, and the months waned, and the long days came round again, my loyal comrades took me aside and prodded, "Captain, this is madness. High time you thought of your own home at last. If it really is your fate to make it back alive and reach your well-built house and native land." I would pause here. I think this is a great place to stop and make an annotation for what it means to be home. They're talking about Ithaca a lot in this portion, maybe even more than we've seen in other portions. But they also have this interesting sort of feast and constant happiness happening at Circe's house. She's very enticing. So you might want to make a note about what home means to them at this point. I'll keep reading. Their urging brought my stubborn spirit round. So all that day, till the sun went down, we sat and feasted on sides of meat and heady wine. Then, when the sun had set and night came on, the men lay down to sleep in their shadowed halls. But I went up to that luxurious bed of Circe's, hugged her by the knees, and the goddess heard my winging supplication, or ask. "Circe, now, make a promise you gave me once. It's time to help me home. My heart longs to be home. My comrades' hearts as well. They wear me down, pleading with me whenever you're away." So I pressed, and the lustrous goddess answered me in turn. "Royal son of Laertes, Odysseus, old campaigner, stay on no more in my house against your will. But first, another journey calls. You must travel down to the house of death and the awesome one, Persephone, there to consult the ghost of Tiresias, seer of Thebes, the great blind prophet whose mind remains unshaken. Even in death, Persephone has given him wisdom, everlasting vision to him and him alone. The rest of the dead are empty, flitting shades." What did you just ask him to do? Pause. Annotate. What? So she said, and crushed the heart inside of me. I knelt in her bed and wept. I had no desire to go on living and see the rising light of day. But once I'd had my fill of tears and writhing there, at last I found the words to venture. "Circe, Circe, who can pilot us on that journey? Who has ever reached the house of death, in a black ship. The lustrous goddess answered, never pausing, Royal son of Laertes, Odysseus, born for exploits. Let no lack of a pilot at the helm concern you. No, just step on your mast and spread your white sail wide. Sit back and the north wind will speed you on your way. But once your vessel has cut across the ocean river, you will raise a desolate coast and Persephone's grove, her tall black poplars, willows whose fruit dies young. Pause here. You remember anything about Persephone, you remember that she's very connected to the idea of fruit, of birth and death, of growing, and of wilting. Good connection to make. You might want to pause the video and make that connection. Beat your vessel hard by the ocean's churning shore, and make your way down to the moldering house of death. And into there, Archeron, the flood of grief, 2 rivers flow, the torrent river of fire, the wailing river of tears that branches off from Styx, the stream of hate, and a stark crag or cliff looms, where 2 rivers thunder down and meet. Once there, go forward, hero. Do as I say now. Dig a trench of about a 4 arms depth and length, and around it pour libations or drinks out to all the dead, first with milk and honey, and then with mellow wine, then water third and last, and vow again and again to all the dead, to the drifting, lifeless spirits of their ghosts, that once you return to Ithaca, you will slaughter a barren heifer or a cow that can't have any children in your halls, the best you have, and load a pyre or a fire pyramid made of sticks. Load a pyre with treasures, and to Tiresias alone, apart, you will offer a sleek black ram, the pride of all your herds. And once your prayers have invoked the nations of the dead and their dim glory, slaughter a ram and a black ewe, turning both their heads towards Cerberus, but turn your head away, looking towards the ocean river. Suddenly then, the countless shades or ghosts of the dead and gone will surge around you there, but order your men at once to flay the sheep that lie before you, killed by your ruthless blade, and burn them both. And then say your prayers to the gods, to the almighty god of death and dread, Persephone. But you, draw your sharp sword from beside your hip, sit down on alert there, and never let the ghosts of the shambling, shiftless dead come near that blood till you have questioned Tiresias yourself. Soon, the great seer will appear before you, captain of armies. He will tell you the way to go, the stages of your voyage, how you can cross the swarming sea and reach home at last. Big pause. What did she just tell him to do? What could go wrong? We know this book already. What do you think could go wrong? When you're ready, unpause me. And with those words, Dawn rose on her golden throne, and Circe dressed me quickly in sea cloak and shirt, while the queen slipped on a long, loose, glistening robe, flimsy, a joy to the eye, and round her waist she ran a brocaded golden belt, and over her head a scarf to shield her brow. And I strode through the halls to stir my men, hovering over each with a winning word. Up now! No more lazing away in the sleep. We must set sail. Queen Circe has shown us the way. I brought them round, my hardy friends in arms, but not even from there could I get them safely off without a loss. Wah, wah. There was a man, Elpenor, the youngest in our ranks, none too brave in battle, none too sound in the mind. He'd strayed from his mates in Circe's magic halls, and keen for the cool night air, sodden with wine, he'd bedded down or laid down on her roofs. But roused by the shouts and tread of marching men, he leapt up with a start at dawn, but was still so dazed, or maybe drunk, he forgot to climb back down again by the long ladder. Head first from the roof he plunged, his neck snapped from the backbone, his soul flew down towards death. Once on our way, I gave the men their orders. You think we are headed home, our own dear land? Well, Circe sets us on a rather different course. Down to the Hall of Death and the awesome one, Persephone, there to consult the ghost of Tiresias, seer of Thebes. So I said it, and it broke my shipmates' hearts. They sank down on the ground, moaning, tore their hair. But it gained us nothing. What good can come of grief? Back to the swift ship at the water's edge we went, our spirits deep in anguish, faces wet with tears. But Circe got to the dark hull before us, tethered a ram and black ewe or sheep close by, slipping past unseen. Who can glimpse a god who just wants to be invisible, gliding here and there? And that, you guys, is the end of book 10. You have 2 assignments for this. So one is, yes, you're going to be adding to your hero tracker. And then you have a longer assignment, and that is a journal entry where you're writing from the perspective of Odysseus. I would say take a line of his that moves you or that speaks to you in order to do this well. In addition, you should always be adding to your hero tracker, and that's the sheet that we gave you that says scenario, how it's heroic, how it's unheroic. We do encourage you to look at both of the options because for our essay, we're going to really be seeing which one weighs more for whether Odysseus is heroic or not. I really miss you guys. I'm excited to Zoom with you. If you want to, you can definitely email me and we can make an appointment. So again, 2 bigger assignments. That's the, I forgot what I was going to say. Sorry. 2 bigger assignments. That's the journal entry, the hero tracker. Oh, and clarifying questions. Make sure you answer the form for clarifying questions. Sorry, I'll get better at this as we go. Super weird, right? I do miss you guys, and I'm going to leave you with a line. What good can come of grief? Don't grieve. Don't be crazy. Send me an email if you need to. I'm here. Bye.